Welcome to the Natural Parents Podcast, where we will cover all things faith, health, family, and wealth through a biblical perspective of putting things in life that matter most back into order. We're reminded in Matthew 6:33, where Jesus said, "But seek first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you." Join us each week as we focus on what truly matters most in this life and passing those values on to the next generation. This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abby Hukin.
I'm trying to remember what our kids had created signs for. They wanted to sell their stuff, and they went and they got a stack of printer paper, all of their markers, and they were doing rainbows and they were, how do I write this? This was like a couple of years ago.
Sure.
We lived in the camper, and they were making signs. They're like, all right, we're going to hang it on the stop sign. We're going to hang it on the mailbox. And it was pouring that day. And I'm like, we can't hang. Like, I don't want to even crush you.
4 cars that come by.
Yes, to come to their yard sale or whatever it is. And I think that if we just allow them to be creative, to think, to problem solve, like, okay, what do you see that is a problem that you can solve for, right? Because that's business in general. And encouraging them in that and helping them name it and helping them think through the systems of it and just giving them that mindset. No, are they going to actually create a business at 7 years old? Maybe, but probably not. So let them do lemonade stands. We are doing a lemonade stand with our kids and our best friends' kids, and purpose is not just for the profit of the lemonade. It's for a greater mission, right? We're going to talk about our expo and advertise for that and just different things. And so at that same time, it's a good opportunity to talk to your kids about profit, right? So our kids are going to be like, okay, I got $1 for that cup of lemonade. How do I want to spend it? The good time for a reality check is to be like, all right, but that cup cost us 50 cents. So really your profit is only 50 cents. And what are we going to do with that? Because that's what really sets them up to not view business as just profit, but as a tool, to use.
This realm of pursuing entrepreneurship, if God's put something on your heart, like he's going to bless it. There's really no question about that. It's just us doing the hard work of the kind of walk it out piece. Mm-hmm. But it's like all for the mindset of we are called to, in my opinion, use money to love people. And in such a way, we're serving God, right? Like the parable of the talents is taught about in the book of Matthew, and there's these 3 guys come to their master. One gets 5 talents, one gets 2, one gets 1. The 5 and the 2 go out and they put what God deposited, or what in the story, the parable from Jesus is that the boss, if you will, invested this into these 2 gentlemen, and they took it and they took risk. That's where a lot of people stop right there. They're like, wait, there's risk involved, I'm out. And then they took it, they invested it, and they got a return. And God measured not anything other than the fact that they got return, right? 5 guy brought back 5 more, so he had 10. 2 guy brought back 2 more, so he had 4. But then there was the 1, and the 1 guy took it and was fearful. God deposited a 1 talent. In this case, it's equal to a sum of money as the story goes. But in my heart, it's like there's a gift inside each and every one of our children that God deposited. It might be that they might be the next professional baseball player. They might be the next world-changing entrepreneur. They might be the person that, hey, I'm going to be this in my family. I'm going to be the person that stops this generational curse in my family because this happened and this happened and this happened, but I'm going to be the one it stops with. And whatever it is, we have to be willing to cultivate that and encourage them to invest that gift that God gave them back into what I say, kingdom marketplace. And so if we'll do that, God will say, well done, my good and faithful servant. But to the 1 guy, he took his thing that God gave him and he just went over here and he hid it. He put it, as other scripture will say, underneath, lit his candle and covered it up so he didn't let the world see it. He never took the risk with the gift that God gave him, and he got no return. And God was like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Essentially in the parable. And so for me, it's such a reminder. It's like, if God's given you something, parents, he's given you children, continue to invest in them in whatever way possible. Like just having this conversation today, reading those books we've talked about in the past, like whatever it is, just continue to push your children towards using and leveraging the gifts that God's given them, but also the dreams that they might have. I never want to be the person that diminishes my children's pursuit of something. Like you said that, like it's a rainy day, they're making signs. not a solid business plan,
No.
right? Putting signs up on the stop sign on the back county road.
We've talked about money habits and spenders and savers and all of that. And this is also where the foundation of our kids' spending habits and saving habits can be set. And I've seen I think it's like a piggy bank or it's a bank of some kind, and it has different little slots in it. And it's like, okay, this amount I'm going to be able to spend. This amount I'm going to save. This amount I'm going to give. This amount I'm going to reinvest. And it just teaches our kids to switch from, oh, I have all of this to spend, to, no, I'm going to give that away. Church, charity, missionaries, different things. I'm going to do that. I can spend this amount. I'm going to save this amount, and this amount I'm going to go and maybe put it back into my business to make it better. Sure. Or, start a new business or different things like that. And I think whenever you lay that foundation from an early stage and really let them have a lemonade stand and do all of that with their profit. Sure. Make sure you do, humble them real quick with the expenses. Revenue is not profit. But I really do think that doing that at an early age really gets them to think appropriately when it comes to that. And then when it's big money and not just monopoly, sure, then maybe they'll do it better.
Also, on that concept of stewardship, I've heard this, and we've talked about this, I think, on the podcast before, where people will often say, if I just had, I think it's like something like 20 or 30% more. People always are in that thought. They're just like, well, if I just had this much more, if you were God, would you give you more money? Mm-hmm. Going back to the parable is that God gave to them, right? And then they went and did with what God gave them. The worthy servants, right? The good and faithful servants did that. And the one who didn't do what God had put on his heart for him to do, he got too afraid of making a mistake or losing it or anything like that. And he just buried it into the earth and hid it away so that he wouldn't lose it. And God's like, that's not why I gave you that, right? And so this is something I'm not calling you out. We've discussed this before, but you'll say something like, well, I'm not creative. And I'm like, well, you're made in the image of God. And God, the first thing God ever tells us about God is that he's created. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So why did God tell us this? Like, of all the things he could have started with, that's the first thing he tells us. It must be pretty important. And so if he's creative and created all of this, and his like cornerstone of creation is us as human beings, we are his masterpiece, right? He said his total tone changed. He says, let us make them in our image. Everything else was like, he just did it. He said, creatures of the ground, let them come forth, right? Creatures of the sea, let them come forth. But when he got to man, it was like, let us make them in our image. And so if God's creative, then we are creative. And so how do we cultivate that creativity in our children so that they can create something and really push forward against the darkness of this world? And that's like, for us, that's this concept of the natural parents, right? Come around Christmas time, the Advent conspiracy book that shares that 50% of Americans are in debt this coming Christmas from the previous Christmas. So they're still carrying debt from the gifts that they had to buy during the Christmas season because of what we're told, that we have to have more things to live this abundant life.
Yeah, and I think that it's a slippery slope because we feel like for our kids to have a magical Christmas, we have to buy them all of their hopes and dreams beyond, right? But then we are not setting them up for success in their future years because we're still paying on the debt at if it's a credit card, 28-30% interest.
Yeah, for sure.
So what does a Christmas present actually cost whenever you're doing that math? Sure. And I think that we are thinking that the things that we have are what make us rich. The other day, you and I texted you because Jennings came up and he was like, Mom, how did he say it? I got a gift and you're never going to guess what it is. And I said, what is it? Do you want to read it?
I'm going to find it. Yeah.
Okay. So the other day, Jennings goes, hey, Mom, do you want to know the gift I got today? I said, let me think about it. And he said, you're never going to guess it, so let me just tell you. He said, I have the gift of a mom, the gift of a dad, the gift of this house, the gift of a belly that loves good for me food, the gift of my legs to run, and the gift of the earth to walk on. And it is just such a good reminder that richness in life is not material things. It is what you have and what you find contentment in. Whenever you can look around and you see your health that you have as a family, you see that you have a place to rest and to eat and good for you food. And when you start viewing things as the gift that they are, that's whenever you can find true happiness and stop searching for it in the next thing you're going to buy. And it just, when you think of the stat that you shared on how many Americans deal with debt, it makes so much sense why people like Dave Ramsey are such absolutists. They're like,
Absolutely.
he's like, no credit cards, cut them up. We are moving at the speed of cash, and because the discipline that comes from that allows you to really get out of debt. Because how many marriages have so much conflict over money? How many parents and spouses are so short with the ones that they love the most because they're actually scared about making the payment the next month? Americans, they look at, well, that car only costs $800 a month. I can afford $800 a month. But you shouldn't be looking at it like that. You need to be, if you have the opportunity, and I'm not saying that everybody's able to start out by saving up for their first car. Everybody starts somewhere. However, whenever you can save that money and then go pay cash for it, that burden, that financial burden isn't going to be as heavy.
You use contentment is, I think, key here, because I think we can be content in so many different situations. And I struggle with contentment, not in a sense of like materialism as it is just like I always feel like I have to be working harder or achieving the next thing or anything like that. And there's reason for that. But, Paul, and everybody knows, I think it's Philippians 4:13, Paul says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And I love that. And it's a great sticker and bumper sticker and wall graphic and stuff like that. Tattoo, no slight if you got the tattoo. I think it's a great Bible verse. It really is. But I love the key, and this is the one that people miss. The verse right before it, Paul is sitting in prison when he writes that. And he says, I found the secret to contentment, whether in much or in great need. And basically saying whether I'm rich or poor sitting in prison, I have found the secret to contentment. Pause. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So like if we would just reflect on our own contentment, like Jennings saying those things like I'm just grateful for legs that work. Like what? Like that allow me to run on this earth, and do this. And it's just like, it's such an amazing, like they say all the time, like you're raising your kids, but your kids are also raising you. And it's such a beautiful reminder of that, because while again, we go through our own journey, we're in our own debt pay down journey right now. It's like, because we got caught up in the discontentment that I think is bred within the minds of every American in our society. And like, again, I'm not trying to go down a conspiracy theory or rabbit hole here. It's just, that's the fact. Like our economy, it relies on the amount of people that are in debt. And like the more of that, then the more the merry-go-round. That's the way my dad always used to describe it. It was like the merry-go-round of life. And it's like faster and faster. And you're just on for a little bit of a ride. And now you can't get off. And it's just crazy. And that's not what any of us really truly want for our lives or for our children's lives. So it's almost like you have to peel the scales off your own eyes so that you can set your own family up for future success, which is a huge piece of the debt pay down journey.
And it's humbling, of course, to do that. But whenever you have the chance to do that, you know that you're setting yourselves up for a more promising, less slave to the lender future, but then also your kids, and you're able to teach your kids through that as well. Did you know that we spend about a third of our lives in bed? That's over 8 hours a day that our body should be resting, healing, and restoring. But did you ever stop to think about what we're breathing in during that time? Most mattresses today are made with synthetic foams, flame retardants, and chemicals that release toxins into the air, especially while we sleep. That's why we made the switch to My Green Mattress, made with only clean, organic materials. There's no chemical smell, no off-gassing, just a pure supportive mattress that helps your body truly rest and recover the way it was designed to. As a family, that peace of mind is worth everything. If you want to create a healthier home from the inside out, go check out the link in our description. You'll see exactly why we love our green mattress and why we'll never go back. As parents, we love finding natural ways for our family to feel their best, and that is why we chose Llama. They make genuine Baltic amber jewelry for both kids and adults, known for its soothing and grounding properties. For little ones, it's a beautiful natural option to help with teething and inflammation, and for adults, it can help ease tension and bring a sense of calm throughout the day. Each piece is handcrafted from authentic Baltic amber. It's never plastic, never imitation, just simple, natural comfort that fits your lifestyle. Check out the link in our description to shop Llama, natural comfort for the whole family.
I love it because you're talking about a few different things here, and I'm going to amplify them. But like the one that people bring up all the time, and I want to be careful to draw a good line here, is that people say all the time that the love of, well, actually what people will say is that money is the root of all evil. And I don't think either one of us agree with that, or do I think that's actually what the scripture says or reads? It says that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And so that delineation, I think, is important, because you're starting to talk about, lordship. And I think, yes, we want to be financially well enough off to not have needs. So that comes in two ways. One is like, well, let me not worry, right? Because that's our favorite verse. It's the verse in the intro of the podcast, is Matthew 6:33 says, seek first the kingdom of God, and all of these things. What are these things? The stuff we worry about: clothes, food, house, all that stuff. Sure. It's like, don't worry about these things. God will take care of them. It says, look at the field and the lilies, that, not even Solomon in all of his splendor was dressed as pretty as this. Like, God's going to take care of a field and dress it up. He's going to put some fine clothes on you too. Like the birds of the air, they're not running around worried about whether they're going to eat or not. There's food everywhere. We live in a very abundant world. Just look around. There's so much abundance. And I think we've just been trained to lose sight of that. But then two, again, is, okay, if you can get in right relationship with your money, you might be feeling suffocated by debt. You might be being short, as you described, with your friends, your family, your loved ones, because of the stress, that a financial burden of choices and decisions that we've made in the moment now are haunting us, right? Like, we've lived in that. It's like, no, I've made the decision to be debt free. Like, I just want to be there. Yeah, no, it's like, no, we've got to spend the next few years paying for this decision until we're ready to get out of it. But it's making that daily conscious choice to say, you know what, money, you're not my Lord. I'm going to get over you. I'm going to get on top of you. I'm going to get my finances in order in such a way, whatever the Lord has sought fit to bless me with, I'm going to steward really, really well. Because right now I might have the conviction that we're not stewarding it as best as we could, because everything that we have is a gift from God. And so if that, let's just say $5,000 a month total operating family budget, I don't know if that's what you're working with, you can work with that in this country. That's possible. Don't get me wrong. If it's less than that, if it's more than that, there's a way to work around that. It's a gift from God. Get on top of it, make the conscious decision, and then the daily decision not to go down the wrong rabbit hole where money and debt becomes your Lord. Okay, so you're saying that, and I thought of, again, a scriptural construct here where Esau was so hungry, he was so famished, he allowed himself to sell his birthright to his brother for a cup of soup. And so I think we do this. You bring up grocery budgets, and we're like, okay, I'm gonna keep my meal plan. I got this all figured out. We're going to stay on this structure.
Your belly's only rumbling because you ate 2 hours ago.
Right. You're not hungry. We don't know what hunger is. I was explaining this to our son the other day. He was complaining about something like putting his socks on or something like that. He's like, God's so hard. I'm like, bub, come on. I don't know. You don't know what hard is. I don't know what hard is. We live a very blessed and cush life. And same thing goes for our hunger pains and the desires that we have to eat. So we'll make this, you see this all the time. People say, well, it's so expensive. And if we just allocated our eating out budgets as Americans to our grocery lists that then are going to be cleaner, going to be more nutrient dense, going to be better to serve our bodies. Or if you just skipped that meal, I promise you, short of like a diabetic situation, you're right on the verge of collapse, like whatever, like if you're a relatively healthy American and you feel a hunger pain, you're not hungry. Like our kids will be like, oh, I'm starving. I'm sorry, I love you, but you're not starving, right? Like there's so much that I think comes to this. And again, I'm not sitting here saying I get this right all the time, but like Esau was for just a bowl of soup, sold his entire birthright to his brother and said, I'm hungry, feed me. Like he wasn't that hungry. Like he could have gone and made his own soup and it would have taken him an hour and he'd have been good, right? And he's like, so I think we do this, and it's, yes, there's a food and a grocery budget teach here, but there's also oh my goodness, I have to have that thing right now. I've been on this kick lately because it keeps coming up in my life and different Bible studies I'm a part of and stuff, so I'll share it here too. But the world that we live in has three things to offer, and different ways, different versions will say the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. And we think of these things through a different lens all the time, but lust of the eyes is a materialistic and it can be sensual and sexual too. So like, hang with me here. But like, if you think about it, it's just like, I'm looking out there, there's something that I want and I have to have it, right? The flesh is the same way. Yes, could be sensual, could be sexual. That's the most, when people hear that word lust, another translation is desire, like desire of the eyes, desire of the flesh. It's just, I see that over there. I want it. I see that I want to eat. I want to feel this certain way. You know, that's what those two things are. And then the pride of life is like, that's the keeping up with the Joneses, right? In this conversation, it's like, look at me, look what I do. One of my favorite things, he's, pretty, I guess, famous in the world of YouTube goes and for things like that. But Alex Ramosi had to teach on this one time, and he was hustling and building his business and all this kind of stuff. And he was like saying that he rolled up to some like red carpet of it, and he had like a used Toyota Prius with dents and, older car and all this kind of stuff. And they're like, man, I thought you were really good at business, and like, why are you driving that car? He's like, if you're curious about my business, look at my bank account, not my car. Like, what difference does it matter what car I drive, And it's just, we do this, and we do this to each other, and we're all in the same rat race. And then we pretend through pride of life that we're not. And it's like, well, in reality, 50% of Americans are carrying credit card debt from month to month.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it really is. It's just if we stopped caring what other people thought, because really, it doesn't matter. People are going to think you're crazy if you do or if you don't. So if you just do what works best for your family, I feel like that's really where, as long as it's obviously what you feel called to do, that's where that freedom comes from. And it doesn't matter what people think of you. It doesn't matter if you do something totally crazy that nobody would understand, because you have to do at the end of the day what serves your family and takes care of your family the best, because ain't nobody else worrying about the food on your table the way that you are. So that is why you just have to make sure that you are doing the absolute best for your family.
Totally. And again, I think it's one of those notions of this idea that 100 years from now, what's really truly going to matter? Like, is anybody going to be around on this earth that's here right now today to remember what car you drove or what kind of house you lived in, or et cetera, et cetera? Like, no, it's not. Like,
at your funeral, they're standing up reading your obituary, and they're like, and she drove.
Like, she sold her car that she had a payment on to buy one cash, but it was 10 years older.
Like I just remember that. Like,
gasp, right?
Also a mother of 3.
Oh, and she had a couple kids and some grandkids, right? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
No, that's the kind of stuff that matters. And so I think if you look at it through that lens of what impact on my family and on the generations to come, on the things that, this has been a continual prayer in our house, is like, Lord, break our heart for the things that break yours. Like, I don't think Ryan driving a brand new truck is the thing that's breaking the Lord's heart or not. And so it's like, how, and again, y'all listen to this. There's no attack. There's no slight. There's only conviction, no condemnation. I say that probably every other podcast, but it's just like, I'm just sharing the convictions of my heart right now in case that y'all are looking for a sense of community or camaraderie, in the sense of like, we're feeling that same tug. Jesus says all the time, be in the world, not of the world. Of the world is consumerism, debt. That doesn't feel good. I think that becomes our Lord, and we can't serve two masters. So how could we serve him with our finances? How can we steward what we have really, really well?
Yeah. And of course, I always feel the need to over explain or support, but it doesn't mean that we are saying if you have a brand new car, shame on you. None of that is, because that may work completely different for different families. And
your life is totally different than my life. And
yes.
It doesn't matter.
Yes. And I did read the other day in a book that it was talking about people who are in debt, and it said that a lot of times people are like, well, I'd be able to get out of debt if I just like made some more money, if I just made more. But then they literally looked at it and studied it, and the people who made more just spent more.
Yeah.
They didn't get out of debt faster. They didn't do anything like that. They just always were thinking that it was going to happen whenever they had the increase, that's why they were in debt. It's because they didn't have that increase, when in reality, it's our habits, and you just have to get ahead of the habits.
About 50% more, 30 to 50% more. I think people end up, it's like, if I just made X dollars a year, then I would be able to get ahead of it. Then I'd be, we talk about that all the time. It's the win-then parenting philosophy, the win-then aspects of life. Like, life's a journey. It's a joy along the ride. Like, don't get so caught up in getting to wherever your destination is. And that's, I think, truly a thief of your joy is you miss out on all the fun aspects of the road trip along the way, right? And last thing I was just thinking was the parable of the talents. We talk about everything in the sense that everything we have is a gift from God, right? And all we're asked to do with it is, in a way, if we believe in him and we believe that he gave us this gift, that we're supposed to get a return on that investment that he gave us. He gave all of us gifts, various different gifts for all of us. And so I think the thing that probably haunts me the most in my stewardship life is like thinking that he blessed us with 3 beautiful children. And while it's not up to me to decide for them whether or not they get to heaven, I think it's our job as parents to make sure that they at least presented with the opportunity to know who Jesus is. Mm-hmm. And so, like, again, whether it's our kids, whether it's our finances, our home, our businesses, like anything that we have been entrusted with in this world, in this life, God gave us that for a reason. And it's not obligatory. It's not like you have to do this to get into heaven. But for me, it's like, Jesus, I see what you did on the cross for me. And because of that amount of grace that you've showed me in my life, I want to do this for you, mm-hmm. right? And I think that's the parable of the talents, is that we see this played out where the 5, the 2, and the 1 guy. So the parable goes that a master came, he gave his servants, the first one 5, the next one 2, the next one 1. The 5 guy goes out immediately with the gifts that the master had given him and got a return. And then the 2 guy, he did the exact same thing. But the 1 guy, he was given a gift, and you might have one singular gift in your life. And if you really stopped and thought about it, you might think like, I don't have anything. I'm no good. Like those are whispers and lies of the enemy. But like, you have some sort of a gift that God has entrusted you with. And I believe that you could get a great return on it for him if you go and invest it. Don't bury it. It could be financial. It could be, again, physical, spiritual, emotional, anything like that. So that's just my encouragement for anybody that's listening. You have a talent, and I believe that the Lord has entrusted you with that. Go invest it well. The Bible's pretty clear about money and not being our master, right? Jesus says that you cannot have 2 masters. You'll love one and hate the other. You cannot serve both God and money. And so I think having a right relationship with our money is really important. So I've always heard a lot of successful people talk about this book, and I picked it up and had it sitting on the shelf for a long time. And I think I read chapter 1, and it's kind of set in an ancient, time of Babylon, and it's a different concept of thinking. I remember reading chapter 1, and I set it down for a while, and then I do that. I got lots of books that I'm reading, but then I picked it up and read chapter 2 again the other day. And the entire premise of chapter 2 was, and it ends with this notion. It starts and ends with this notion. It says, a part of all you earn is yours to keep. And so you talked about that. You said, like, we think that we're supposed to spend all that we make. And so in the narrative, the guy's saying, like, isn't all I earn mine to keep and do whatever I want with it? And he's like, no, like, that's not how life goes around. And the Bible's pretty clear. I think there's a rhythm and a flow that the first 10% should be given back to God. We ought to be able to live off of 90. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's a neat setup. A lot of people talk about New Testament, Old Testament, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's a decent framework to build off of. Second 10% to decide like it's not even there, and then live off the rest, right?
Mike Michalowicz, is that how I say it? And he talks a lot about kind of the envelope method, if you will, but he does it with bank accounts, and certain bank accounts can have debit cards and certain don't, but it's for everything that is important to you. It's maybe for vacation. Maybe you send $5 to vacation a time, and, it's for groceries, it's for your dreams, it's for your wants. And then that is how you guide, oh, well, should I spend this on the new wardrobe that I want? Well, you have $20 in there, so go get yourself a new t-shirt if that's what you want. Yeah, and it's a good way to keep yourself accountable and within that limit, but still giving yourself the things that you desire, whether that's a vacation or going shopping, going out to eat, whatever that may be. You can still live your life, but within the means of what you know that you have.
I feel this even in myself and other people. Maybe other people have put this there. Maybe it's my own backwards or broken thought processes, but like, I feel like, especially in Christian circles, we just start talking about ordering your finances at all, and all of a sudden it comes with this like back of your mind thought pattern. It's like, oh, see, you just love money. Maybe that's a me problem, but like,
I feel like that's true though.
Yeah. And so why I think it's so important for us to have this conversation, and for anybody that's listening to stay a part of this conversation, I think it's so profound. At any point in time, you just stop and ask yourself, if you were God, would you give you more? of anything. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
money, more X, Y, or Z. Are you stewarding what he's given you? Because everything that we have is a gift from above. And if he's in control of it and he's truly our master and he's entrusted us with a portion, then he needs and wants to see us steward, manage his trust well, right? And so I think that can come in so many different pathways, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't think that it's ever too soon to start encouraging and teaching your kids the same things.
Yes.
Every kid will get birthday money or some kind of income, right? Whether they sell a lemonade stand or whatever that is, and just teaching them that habit of setting aside, saving for yourself, and doing that. Back in the day, we always just went to the mall, didn't need anything.
Just people watch.
But you come home with like 6 bags full of stuff, right? That you didn't need.
Right.
And that's what stores are designed to do, is to make you want and desire the thing that you didn't even know you needed.
Right.
And so that's just where it's a dangerous thing. But if you keep that in your mind, and know that that's the strategy and the hope, and yeah, that purchase is going to make you happy for the next 2.5 minutes.
Right.
But then you're going to start regretting it whenever you're like, okay, we have 10 cents for this week's grocery budget.
Right. Well, then in our world, where do we pull it from? The credit card.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's a super slippery slope. Seriously, getting a better grasp on this, because there's a reason Jesus talked about money more than anything in the New Testament. He knew this world, it really operates under a currency, right? I mean, there's money is weird, but it's paper bills and metal coins, and yet, well, numbers on a screen actually in today's day and age. But there was times where it was trading and furs and all sorts of stuff like that, spices. It's what is of value to other people. And so I think it's important for us to have a right relationship with it, and it's really important for us to teach our kids, like you were saying, to get this right. Because I think it's in 1 Timothy, Paul says something to the effect that, like, a man that leaves no inheritance to his children isn't doing it right. And that's not, again, condemning. His words are a bit harsh in that, but I don't want to just throw that word and that concept out there, because I've been talking to you about this. You actually said this to me, or at least a version of it. This is like, don't beat yourself up for the lesson that only time could teach, right? And so if y'all are with us in this and you're realizing that, hey, wait, maybe I haven't had the best grasp on all of this and I want to be better at it, and we want to be better with you along this journey. It's like all these things, like don't go beating yourself up because you're not in the retirement position you want to be in yet. Like, the best thing you could possibly do is start now. In fact, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to share more from the story. If you don't want to read, fast forward the next 2 minutes. If you want to read the book, but if you want to hear about the book, get the Cliff Notes version. This gentleman, the richest man in Babylon, gets asked by an older friend of his. They went to school together. He said, man, I don't understand. Like, why are you excelling so well? You give, you spend, you buy, you do all this, but yet every year you amass and accumulate more. And that's when he tells him, starts the chapter. He said, well, I'll give you this secret, basically, that a part of all you earn is yours to keep. And he's like, that's it? That's all you got for me? He's like, put it in play for a year. If you just do 10% of every single one of your jobs that you get paid for, at the end of the year, you'll have an entire, month's wages, let's just say, a little more than. And so he said, okay, well, I'll try that. And so he goes to work and he does that, and he comes back and he's like, well, how's it going? He's like, good. And then he takes his savings after the year, spends it. He tried to invest it, but he did it incorrectly. And he's like, oh, well, try again. Your money's gone. But the guy's like, oh, well, that, it was disappointing. It was upsetting. His whole, year's worth of savings was gone. But it's like, now he's another year older. He could have beat himself up, all this stuff. He's like, but the habit was there. I had learned to live off of 90%, and living off of 90% in this guy's situation was no different than living off the 100%. It was almost negligible. I didn't even notice it. But then once he had made the savings, then he invested that savings, and now his savings was working for him. And so if we can do this, if we can get a good grasp on this and control our own impulses and our own desires and the materialism that rules this world in our minds, then our children can understand it too. And wealth without wisdom is wasted. We don't want to just pass our kids a paycheck whenever we pass away, right? Our kids or our grandchildren. A godly man leaves an inheritance to his children's children.
From the bottom of our hearts, we want to say thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with someone you know and leave a review. By doing so, we're able to grow this community of amazing people just like you and raise a generation of children that know God and do His will on earth. We'll see you next time.
This is the Natural Parents Podcast with Ryan and Abby Hukin.